Consortium news.
This is the story. Hopefully I do not get cut out. Verizon, please.
Everyone pray to the internet gods. Do the little good internet dance.
So first story tonight, we're going to feature Africa a little bit. This is an article that you brought to me that I figured, okay, we might as well.
Yep.
We'll just keep it in our African playlist. This actually might be sort of a part one, depending. There are other articles that I'm looking at that might lend into this as well. So we'll see. But this is from Consortium News, written by Vijay Prashad. We've read his work before, where he titles this article "To Free Africa, Stop Stealing Its Wealth." In Senegal and many other countries, the IMF's approval of irregular financial practices has undermined sovereignty and favored multinational corporations. So BJ continues. Please work. Thank you. In February 2025, Senegal's Court of Auditors released a report that found anomalies in the management of public finances between 2019 and 2024 during the presidency of Macky Sall. For instance, the court found that while Sall's government had suggested that the budget deficit for 2023 was 4.9% of the GDP, it was in fact 12.3%.
Okay.
The court went to work on this reconstruction of public finances because of very significant accusation made by Senegal's new Prime Minister Ousmane Sonko at a press conference in Dakar in September 2024. What the auditors found and what the National Monetary Fund validated was that the actual debt ratio in 2023 was 99.7% of the GDP, not 74.7%, and that the deficit had been underestimated by 5.6% of GDP in August 2025. The debt ratio was revised to 111% of GDP. The financial situation in Senegal, Prime Minister Sonko said, is catastrophic because of three problems inherited of the decade of Sall's rule: an unbridled debt policy that increased the country's public debt while raising the possibility of any growth to pay off that debt, which is very typical of many African countries, especially if the West is dealing with them. An administration that hides this indebtedness and the deep problems in the economy from the Senegalese people, who nonetheless rejected Sall's chosen successor, Amadou Ba, in the March 2024 presidential elections and chose Bassirou Diomaye Faye instead. Widespread corruption, including the defrauding of the country's COVID funds by 4 ministers. Work. Thank you. The evidence that Sall's government knowingly bankrupted their country and stole its exchequer is slowly being amassed by President Faye and Prime Minister Sonko. Faye and Sonko are both former tax officials who went into politics frustrated by the levels of incompetence, fraud, and corruption in Senegal's politics and bureaucracy. As young men with patriotic ideals, Faye and Sonko studied at the École Nationale d'Administration and then met in the Directorate General of Taxes and Estates, where Sonko had created the Autonomous Union of Tax and Estate Agents. In 2011, the Canadian company SNC Lavalin won a $50 million contract to build a mineral sand processing plant in Grand Côte. However, it was later revealed that in the Paradise Papers, the Senegalese government had signed a contract with an entity known as SNC Lavalin Martilus. Sorry. Kind of hard to read there. In other words, the Canadian company had become a Mauritian company. Conveniently, there was a tax treaty between Senegal and Mauritius that exempted companies registered in Mauritius from paying taxes in Senegal. Due to the shift in jurisdiction, SNC Lavalin was able to avoid paying at least $8.9 million in taxes to Senegal. SNC's levying annual revenues are about $6 billion, a third of the size of the GDP of Senegal, which has a population of 18 million. Prime Minister Sonko was a vocal proponent of this project, and in January 2014, formed a political party called African Patriots of Senegal for Work, Ethics, and Fraternity to carry on the fight. In 2017, he won a seat in the National Assembly where he raised the issue of tax havens and corporate theft. A tax haven can be a paradise for multinationals that want to avoid paying taxes, he said in 2018. But for the country, it is hell. In 2019, Sonko won nearly 16% of the vote in a contentious presidential election. In the 2022 new municipal and parliamentary elections, there were major gains for PSF-TEF-led coalition called Yui Askan Fi, We, Free the People, with the Socialist Party of Senegal's candidate Bartholomew Diaz elected mayor of Dakar.
Yep.
Then President Sall was furious with these former tax officials and sought to ban their party and silence Sonko. This led to major demonstrations in 2023 through 2024 that culminated in the electoral victory of Faye and Sonko. It is no surprise that these former tax officials dug into the accountants' ledgers and uncovered evidence of fraud. But are Sall and his government the only ones guilty of fraud? After all, the entire bureaucracy in Senegal, including the Court of Auditors, did not seem to act on the complaints made by Sonko and others, nor on the revelations from the Paradise Papers. Perhaps the most striking act of malfeasance is not by the Senegalese government, but by the IMF. Since Sonko began to raise this issue in 2017, the IMF has published at least 7 staff reports on Senegal, none of which indicated there was any problem with the reporting arrangements on debt or on finances. The IMF's 2019 staff report, for instance, noted that Senegal's audit arrangements conformed to international finance reporting standards and that the country had subscribed to the IMF's own special data dissemination standard in 2017. If the IMF signed off on the data being provided by Senegal, then it is just as liable for fraud as the Sall government and should be held to account. In October 2024, following revelations of budgetary misreporting, the IMF suspended Senegal's lending program. In March 2025, the IMF staff report noted the need for urgent reforms in Senegal's bureaucracy and institutions, but not of the IMF itself. Around the same time, IMF spokesperson Julie Kozak said that Senegal might not need to return the fraudulent borrowings of the Sall government because of the good faith by which the Faye Sonko government conducted an audit to unravel these irregularities. However, this waiver came with strings attached, as it was to be part of the negotiations between the IMF and Senegal. The IMF showed its hand in the August 2025 staff report. It wanted to use the possibility of a waiver to extract concessions from the new government, including structural changes to erode whatever remained of Senegalese sovereignty. So, what does that sound like to you?
Sounds like blackmail is what it sounds like. You know, like, do what I say or else.
Right.
You know?
The Faye Sonko government won a popular mandate to strengthen sovereignty. The IMF is using the Faye Sonko's government honesty about the previous government's fraud to undermine it. While the IMF seeks its greater access to strategic sectors, such as energy and agriculture, via multinational corporations, tighter fiscal discipline by the government, in other words, less social spending for the working class and peasantry, and continuation of Sall's 2014 Plan Senegal Emergent, which uses technocratic buzzwords to mask the drain of wealth into the hands of foreign multinationals and the Senegalese elite. The waiver will hang over Faye Sonko's government to coerce them to exchange their agenda of sovereignty for the IMF's agenda of subservice. The case of Senegal is not unusual. In the 1980s, US-backed military governments in Latin America conducted off-budget borrowings, which the IMF took seriously in word, but not in action. In 2000, the IMF identified misreporting by Pakistan's military government, but again did nothing, particularly after Pakistan enthusiastically joined the US war on terror in 2001. Around the same time, the IMF forgave Ukraine for debt misreporting, once again acting under pressure from the US government as it sought to maintain President Leonid Kuchma's pro-Western orientation. Much of the same happened to Congo Brazzaville in 2002 and Gambia in 2003. In 2006, the IMF released a paper on how to make the misreporting policies less onerous so as not to burden countries with heavy penalties. This attitude informed the IMF's treatment of Mozambique in 2016 when the energy exporter faced challenges from hidden debts. Governments favored by Washington are slapped on the wrist, while governments eager to develop a sovereign policy are punished. In September, the great Senegalese musician Cheikh Lo, I guess that's how you say it, released an album called Madame, I guess that's how you say it. The album features a reggae track called African Development that starts with Cheikh Lo intoning the names of Cheikh Anta Diop, Thomas Sankara, and Nelson Mandela before he riffs on the words, "Free, free Africa, Africa must go free." This song is a return. This song is a return to the source, to the hopes and aspirations when Senegal won its independence in 1960 and raised its flag under the leadership of its first president, Leopold Sedar Senghor. Health first, sings Cheikh Lo, who goes on to list a number of demands: agriculture, livestock, farming, fishing; education, temple of knowledge; vocational training; job creation for youth; public security; preserve natural resources; fight poverty; fight corruption; independent and fair justice; develop democracy. Freedom for Africa is far from guaranteed by the 54 flags that fly in the 54 capitals on the continent. Freedom can only come when people of Africa assert sovereign control over their own resources and emancipate themselves from the iniquities of capitalism and imperialism, which I think will play very well in my next story that we will share tonight. But any thoughts? I mean, not surprised.
Yeah.
Just a lot of mismanagement and cooking the books in the IMF's favor, essentially, in a way to garner Senegal's resources. But it's good that, unlike what we've read before, like in Nigeria and the other countries, you know, there's a lot of corruption that they'll kind of play along. At least in this case, we have leaders who are good actors, who are actually working for the people, who were very honest. And I think their honesty is, well, in the West case, almost to their detriment. But they seem to be holding strong in terms of, look, this is what we revealed, so, you know, you have to deal with it as you should. And, you know, so kind of I guess a positive ending, well, not ending, but kind of a positive outlook compared with what we have reported before. Not exclusive to Africa, but especially given how corrupt a lot of these African leaders can be, and will just kind of go along with it and just sell out their people for a few tokens, as it were.
Which I was watching BetBeat Media. I don't know if people are go watch them. If not, you should. They had on Professor Patrick Bond recently, right? And he was giving Vijay a bit of, like, you know, a bit of shit, deservedly so, I think. But he's an economist from South Africa, right? And he kind of brought up how, you know, and Vijay doesn't really do that here. It's like, yes, the IMF and the World Bank have been doing this for a while, but like BRICS, Russia, and China also have been like going through Africa and like making similar deals, you know, like, and setting up similar infrastructure, you know. But definitely should go check that out. It was an interesting, I mean, he spoke specifically on like how they're not really doing anything for like Palestine or any of the other genocides that are happening. But I want to get him on the show and have a discussion. But yeah, I mean, we've talked about that at nauseam as well. So, but yeah, I mean, it just sounds like standard imperialist stuff to me, like they've been at it for a minute, right?
Yeah.
I think I had a map that I saved the other day that was let's see if I can no, wrong map. Hold on. Where's it at? Beep bop boop. There we go. So like this thing, right, which was like 1987, right? And this is like them trying to claim Africa was communist controlled, just like they're doing in Venezuela now, and they use things like the IMF to like reinforce these types of like subjugation, but funny they were doing this back in the 80s, so do any of the, I mean, you've been near some of these countries, any of these look like communist Marxist Leninist controlled, like
no, absolutely not.
You're like, no.
Africa should be so lucky.
But yeah, I mean, that's my thoughts on it. So you got anything else?
No, that's it. And talk about this story and other stories like these is why we're demonetized. So if you want to support us financially in helping us keep this show running as well as other shows on the network, feel free to scan the QR code you see on your screen, or you can type in the Ko-fi link you see at the bottom of your screen. Or if you're in the YouTube chat and you are live right now, you can type in !donate, all one word. The Ko-fi link will pop up. You can also give on PayPal, Substack, and Cash App. Links are in the description below. And as always, we understand, especially right now, that money might be tight for some folks. So the free way that you can support us, if you can, is like, comment, and share our content. Apparently, comments help feed the algorithm, so to speak. So let us know what you think. Are you surprised with the IMF's basically mishandling and mismanagement of money, in Senegal, in the form of extortion and blackmail, as Reef said? And how does this, and what do you think in terms of these African leaders who are actually doing the thing and then actually trying to bring some dignity to the country? And did I lose it? Nope. And that's holding. In order to bring liberation to the country as well as the continent. Let us know, and thanks for watching.